Port of Spain, an exception in the Caribbean. Its industries, its gas and its oil have made the capital of Trinidad and Tobago one of the main economic hubs in the region. 250,000 people pass through this uniquely profiled city every day, at the heart of which ultra-modern architectural buildings stand alongside colonial structures from the Victorian era. To the south are the tallest skyscrapers in the Lesser Antilles. But to the east, the city reveals a completely different face. Among the ghettos of Bittern Garden, St. Paul, John, Belmont, or Laventille, a relentless urban war claims several hundred victims each year. In these areas, more than half of the working-age population is without employment or official income, an ideal breeding ground for criminal organizations that have strengthened their influence to the point of becoming unavoidable. In this neighborhood of Belmont, all the boys are assumed to belong to the Seven, one of the city's main gangs.
See, when we get on that topic, tell you
Watch him good and he go sing one and watch him good. TT money.
And even if these young men look like anything but criminals, they are still potential targets for the rival gang's enemies, the Six, notably suspected of being behind the shooting that killed 5 people on the neighborhood playground a year earlier. One more tragedy that led to others in retaliation, in a whirlwind of violence that seems nearly impossible to escape.
There are people who don't lose people, certain things don't happen, and there are people who not accepting and forgiving because they don't lose their loved one through out of time and circumstances. No,
because there's no end.
No, it could have an end, but not just so.
Yeah.
Because people don't lose their loved ones.
Sheldon, our guide in the ghetto, is an influential member of the community. He is not the only one who believes that this bloody downward spiral is the result of the social situation in these neighborhoods and of the lack of opportunities for those who come from them, especially since the shutdown of several government programs that provided jobs for young people.
Them program is being investigated right now. A lot of money went. The Light Sport have an integrity commission dealing with some investigation of the mismanagement of the funds.
Okay.
You understand me? We don't want to say thieving because I wasn't there to see who touched and who touched. But the government tell us mismanagement of the funds.
Brothers, bless her. You can't give me something and then want to take it back. Let me just say it's a contract or is a this or is a that. You can't do that. And as a person who was incarcerated, the system is really, really unjust. We give you the power, my finger, my vote. So let me work together. I believe that it could be done.
Here, no one seems to believe that the state of emergency will actually change anything. All the more so because law enforcement is accused of acting with particular brutality in these neighborhoods.
Well, once they feed the beater, they beat. If they feed the taser, just what time it was, they come in the hub sometime last week or a week before. There was tasing a man, they beat an next man, bust up an next man head, because he come to see what's going on with the van.
The stigmatization has come with the community. You got to be a criminal in the community, but once where you come from, they will class you as that.
But what the state of emergency is really doing? Who the state of emergency is really targeting? Natural citizen? Would they put everybody in one basket, going door to door? How long did it take to come up with this plan?
On December 30th, 2024, all local media report the government's decision to declare a state of emergency in an attempt to contain a crime wave that has spiraled out of control.
As a necessary move.
Certain criminal gangs are likely to immediately increase their brazen acts of violence in reprisal shootings on a scale so extensive that it threatens persons and will endanger public safety.
2 days earlier, a shooting had broken out right in front of a major police station in Port of Spain. Calvin Lee, known as Tyson, the leader of Gang 6, is targeted by rifle and machine gun fire as he leaves the station after a hearing. He escapes unharmed, unlike one of his close associates, who is gunned down before his eyes. In the neighborhood of the boss of St. Paul Street, everyone is convinced that the police were complicit in the ambush.
The police participate for money, for a few dollars more, the police will do anything in Trinidad. They will even kill you for speaking.
Okay, I might be careful, so.
No, you need to be careful because it's Trinidadians, you know, you're not going to have Guatemala or Martinique in Trinidad.
Less than 36 hours after the incident, 5 people are killed in the rival neighborhood of Laventille, suggesting a new escalation of deadly violence. It is therefore in an attempt to stop this spiral and prevent a highly likely bloodbath that the state of emergency is declared. This gives the police enhanced powers.
The police service will be given the powers to search premises without warrants, to search persons without warrants who they have suspicions of carrying out criminal activities, a lot of it associated with illegal firearms, and also to detain persons for periods of time.
It must be said that the violence of armed groups dominates the headlines. Daily newspapers that every day present the tally of murders committed since the beginning of the year. With 623 murders recorded in 2024, Trinidad and Tobago has set a grim record. It now has the second highest crime rate in the entire Caribbean, just behind Haiti, but ahead of Jamaica. Some reporters have specialized in covering gang-related news. Every evening on TV6, Beyond the Tape reviews news stories and shares the results achieved thanks to the state of emergency. A program presented by investigative journalist Mark Bassant, for whom it is impossible to discuss crime without mentioning the porous nature of the country's borders.
We've had proliferation of guns coming into the country through illegal ports and legal ports. We talk about porous borders where we don't have the scanners actually working. So there is that room for a lot of illicit contraband to enter Trinidad and Tobago, especially high-powered weapons. We're seeing more and more of that being the weapon of choice by gangsters, criminals, etc.
And corrupting a few agents seems to be a minor issue for organizations managing businesses worth several million US dollars.
The network transcends not just the Caribbean, but North America and also Europe, where you have a person that is allegedly the financier of the Six Gang from Tortola, and he has tentacles stretch all the way into the US and Europe. And you also have the major financer of the Seven Gang, I can speak with authority on that, based in the United Kingdom.
Mark Bassant's latest investigations have also shown that these same gangs are spreading like viruses throughout the region.
There's this upward migration of the Six into places like St. Vincent, St. Lucia, you have St. Martin, you have Antigua, Jamaica, and, well, of course, Trinidad and Tobago, even Grenada. And you also have pockets of the Seven Gang also in some of these countries.
On July 2024, 5 people, including the artist Seven, Plumpy Boss, were caught in an ambush just after a concert held in St. Martin, where the Six is already well established. Seriously injured, the singer is still recovering. Artists are becoming targets, notably because they openly display their gang affiliations in videos that rack up millions of views on platforms, often with tragic consequences. In less than 5 years, more than 15 singers have lost their lives in gang-related reprisals. They were called Ciabos, Brad, Chucky Blanco, Wakodan, or Ribble Six. But despite the tragedies and the violent messages conveyed by the artists of this movement, called TriniBAD, the genre has become extremely popular among young Trinidadians from all backgrounds.
That is something we created, TriniBAD. It's a different style, but it is dancehall.
What's different in Trinidad dancehall? What's different from Jamaican dancehall, for example?
I just feel like the lyrical content is different because it's just a certain slangs, certain way we just talk, and we just add our vibe and essence to it, and it creates TriniBAD.
Okay, they said the lyrics are maybe more violent than Jamaican dancehall. Is it true?
I wouldn't say it's more.
No?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's more. Okay. It's a balance.
Yet it is precisely through the lyrics and videos of TriniBAD artists that criminal groups recruit. In fact, the first divisions within the gangs, originally known as Rasta City and Muslim City, emerged around 2020, when Premier Swanee got closer to the Jamaican artist Squash, leader of the Six gang from Montego Bay. A Trinidadian faction formed, and several neighborhoods began identifying with the Six. In response, the 7, 8, 9 and ABG gangs were created almost instantly. Kevin G. Da Costa, known as Johnny Bravo, knows this story well. A former bodyguard for New York celebrities like Notorious B.I.G., this Trinidadian by origin returned to settle in the country nearly 20 years ago to start his own private security company. Today, he is one of the few people able to work with all the gangs in the capital.
The streets notice I'm a no-nonsense guy. I take my job professional, I take it serious. So when the community leaders end up hiring me for a job like a Jamaican artist, because most of them does bring the Jamaican artists to their hood and they hire me. I don't come here to drink and play or I come to work. And once they take care of me, I take care of them and I take care of the artists.
Johnny Bravo took part in bringing several artists together to initiate talks that led to the signing of a peace treaty. It was on July 4, 2020, between sworn enemies Premier Swanee and Poppy Boss. But being so close to alleged gangsters, doesn't that risk being influenced by their lifestyle?
You can't be a gangster and you can't be a bodyguard. You can only choose one. I choose to become a bodyguard, a celebrity bodyguard. That's what they call me now.
But, yeah, because you've been portrayed before as a gangster. What you would say respond to that?
That right there, I don't know where they get that from. That's a rumor, and I want that rumor to stop. Like I said again, I ain't no gangster.
With the state of emergency, TriniBAD artists are no longer protected by the law on freedom of expression. Several of them, like Young Star 6, have been put behind bars for advocating violence or promoting gang culture. Under the terms of the state of emergency, they can be held in detention for 3 months without trial, just like anyone suspected of being part of a criminal organization. This provision allowed authorities to imprison Tyson from the Six and has made other alleged gang leaders extremely discreet. The president of the Seven, who has been hiding in Europe for several months, leaves day-to-day operations to his second-in-command, Sunday. He, who until recently still appeared willingly in music videos by Jamaican artists, is now forced to live in hiding. He is certainly one of the most wanted individuals in Trinidad and Tobago today, by the authorities as well as by rival gangs.
You got to always watch your back every minute?
No, I put my life, I am a life in Christ, so me don't study people, with people watching my back, I don't. I live with Christ.
But you got people to watch your back, right?
No, I don't want that.
How comes you have no fear? You should have fear.
Christ.
The man who commands the troops in the Bittern Garden ghetto says he deeply regrets the war that is claiming so many lives in his community. A situation absurd as yesterday's friends who are killing each other today.
6 and 7 is family, you know. All them numbers thing, everybody's family, you know. Everybody know everybody's mother, everybody know everybody's sister, everybody know everybody's father.
You think there is a way to get out of that situation?
If somebody working, they won't want to get in trouble. They will see about their family. You understand? They will put groceries in the house. They will get their mother something. It's jobs we need. We need work.
Jobs and opportunities. That's what comes up most often when people are asked what could bring about change in Trinidad.
I would say that not enough opportunities and jobs, but then again, some people don't want to work. gangs and all of those things is a place where people find, young men find sense of belonging and stuff like that, those kind of social groups. We don't have a lot of groups like that, positive groups for young men in the communities, so I guess the government should have more programs targeting those kind of things.
People don't just kill people for no reason. I think there's always a bigger reason behind it. I think when we are not focusing on family and educating people properly, then you're going to find these things in society.
Some initiatives have already shown very encouraging results, such as Project Reason, Cure the Violence, inspired by a US program. An initiative based on subsidized contracts aimed at young people in the neighborhoods. Derek Samuel, known as Strongy, long served as a go-between for job seekers and employers.
They need a little assistance because sometimes they might go on their own and sometimes people wouldn't take them serious. I end up with certain people already who work with me from different communities. I get jobs for them and they surprise the boss, the owner of the place, because they work hard, and the boss man came back, the owner of the company came back and asked me if I think I could get some more people from there. Sometimes not everybody, every youth in this area are bad youths, but just they're so trapped because of the fact that if somebody know them from there, they could get killed.
In the neighborhoods where this program was implemented about half a dozen years ago, the number of homicides dropped by more than 45%, which didn't prevent it from ultimately being discontinued due to lack of funding. Some even suggest that violence is deliberately maintained in Trinidad. This is the view of criminologist Darius Figuera, who even speaks of government denial regarding armed groups.
These people are traffickers. These people make money with the illicit trades. These people are in the game. So these people are not gangs. And the use of the word gang is simply a stupid attempt to denigrate and to devalue the potency of the threat.
According to this academic specializing in organized crime, it is actually Colombian and Mexican cartels that are clashing through these armed gangs.
There is a battle for dominance between the Colombian Don and the Mexicans. The Mexicans moved in and the Mexicans have steadily moved to take control of the game in Trinidad and Tobago, to exercise hegemony over it. The most violent organized crime groups in Trinidad and Tobago are under the Colombian Don because they are fighting for their survival. They are faced with extinction like the dinosaurs.
This setup would be made possible by Trinidad's geographical location, just a few miles off the Venezuelan coast. And this would explain the brutality of certain executions, clearly intended to leave a lasting impression in the South American style. The criminologist's claim about the link between gangs and drug cartels is categorically denied by both current and former authorities. For the former Minister of National Security and ex-police chief Gary Griffiths, this is pure fantasy.
When it comes to violent crime, there's no big fish that directs the gang leaders. The gang leaders report to themselves. So when you hear certain people talk foolish comments about Mexican cartel and Latin American cartel working for, we have not found a shred of evidence.
The former top cop of Trinidad and Tobago was indeed officially dismissed following a witness tampering case. But he also ruffled many feathers by exposing a large-scale corruption scandal within the police force.
We had police officers trying to bribe and blackmail persons to get firearms. We had police officers using police vehicles to escort criminal elements. And I started making mandatory tests such as polygraph testing, drug testing, having them transferred, putting undercover officers in the underworld to pinpoint who are the police officers working with the underworld. Me being there affected a multi-million-dollar police criminal enterprise.
For this former businessman and election candidate, the country is suffering the consequences of a policy of awarding lucrative contracts to gang leaders in exchange for social peace.
Politicians started liaising with criminal elements. They've started referring to them as community leaders. And with that, they started giving them massive multi-million-dollar government contracts. What the gang started doing is taking these millions and millions of dollars. They started purchasing more sophisticated guns. They started hiring more gang members. They started putting hits on other gang members to get their state contracts. They started using funds to pay off rogue police officers to protect them. Excuse. And that's what caused the domino effect.
These claims are confirmed by the latest report from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime regarding gangs in the Caribbean, which highlights the close ties between politicians, businessmen, and certain criminal groups. We tried to obtain the official version, but without success. All our interview requests went unanswered, and we were even denied access to the Prime Minister's press conference. Yet in Barbados, during the latest debate on the gang phenomenon at the CARICOM summit, Prime Minister Keith Rowley was at the forefront. But it was his Jamaican counterpart, Andrew Holness, who ultimately set the tone.
There needs to be a global war on gangs in the same way that there is a global war on terror, particularly as it relates to the transnational element of the gangs, which means that the countries in the region would have to have greater cooperation and sharing of intelligence and resources in tackling this very grave threat.
While waiting for a regional response to this scourge, the states want to make their borders less porous. But it only takes 15 minutes to make the trip from Venezuela to Trinidad with various smuggled goods. And at the capital's cargo port, the only 2 container scanners are regularly out of service. In the infamous Laventille ghetto, the number of bodies that have fallen in score-settling incidents is countless. But in this area, controlled by the Nine, the Muslim gang, talking about drugs or weapons is strictly off-limits. Instead, efforts are being made to restore the image of this neighborhood with a very bad reputation. Shugaz, our guide, is adamant. Life is good here.
The area where we're in is Laventille. They put it as a kind of ghetto area, right? So, all right, people out there, when they come, they'll be saying Laventille is a bad place. So people wouldn't really venture here, so it didn't really got, because what you feel, people would like to see this. You know, that kind of way, we didn't have any tourists to come around and they always watch we like, yeah, boy, them real bad on top there, you know. Them go rob you, they'll taste. Nah, them things do happen around here.
Don't be fooled by his smile and youthful appearance. Shugaz has a reputation for showing no mercy to his enemies. That doesn't stop this young father of 2 from deeply regretting the situation.
Say like over there is the beatum, and I live in over here. I can't go across the all by a family over there.
You can't go there?
No, it can be kind of difficult. I'm not saying I can't go, I could go, but it can be a kind of difficult situation. Meaning, all right, I from here, with the sense I going over there for. You know, that kind of way, it's a kind of pick a side thing now, boy.
As the years go by, things keep getting worse. The number of victims is skyrocketing in the neighborhood, while the elders watch helplessly. Like Bigger, one of the architects of the 2020 peace talks, urging gang leaders to end the war tearing the country apart.
It started from the heads, you know, them had to find a mutual ground to stand on with one another. Because you know that it didn't make no sense.
Yes, that's young black male against young black men.
It didn't make no sense. It didn't make no sense. Everybody know one another, you know. Everybody know one another. Everybody grew up with one another. Everybody went to school with one another. Everybody pitch marble. Everybody fly kite together.
Less than 2 kilometers from there, in the heart of the city, every possible means is being used to try to bring lost souls back onto the right path. For the preachers of the Catholic Church, beyond spirituality, education would be the key to seeing peace return.
Parents have to come back to be parents again, because parents have lost it. We haven't, like when I was growing up,
I had to obey by the rules of my parents. Now, according to the people, the tail wagging the dog. You understand me? Yeah, so to speak. The tail is wagging the dog. Children controlling parents now. And we need to get back to roots where parents start to be parents again.
But the words of the gospel are not always well understood or heard during the lead-up to the carnival season. Yet even during carnival festivities, the overwhelming presence of uniforms serves as a reminder of the reality of the state of emergency. But despite the horror of current events, the residents of Port of Spain do not live in fear, paralyzed by a supposed sense of insecurity. The nightlife stands as proof of that.
In Trinidad and Tobago, as with everywhere else in the world, of course you have to be careful. You're not going to go out covered in, like a lot of jewelry. You're not going to go out flashing your money. But again, everywhere else in the world, it's because our island is so small that everything gets condensed. But just going back to what you were asking before with regards to tarnishing, no, I think that we have enough love here and we have enough investment happening that it speaks for itself.
Does somebody have to tell you, change your underwear because it's soiled? Does somebody have to tell you, change your undershirt or your t-shirt because it stinks? Does somebody have to say, brush your teeth or take a a candy to brush in the mouth? If you can't feel that about yourself, then that person, those aspects of us in humanity, we're lost.
We need to get back to the days where it takes a village to raise a home. Okay, where you look out for my loved one and I look out for my loved one, and for real, everybody interacting and trying to restore holistic development, holistic values, and trust me, we could have a better place. All is not lost.
Could art and culture be the driving forces behind an exit from the security crisis? Significant investments have been made, but for hope to be possible, the focus must above all be on improving living conditions and creating job opportunities for young people in the neighborhoods. It's simply a matter of creating alternatives to gangs in Trinidad and Tobago.